Jack, open it up. I can't believe it, Marcus. We finally found her. Maria. Maria.
Dom.
Oh no. 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 No, baby. No. What did they do to you? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Maria. I tried to find you. God, I did. Please, no. Maria. God damn it, it's me, Dominic. It's Dominic. Marcus, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, man.
No. It's okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Maria. I love you so much.
Welcome everybody, Josh here, back at you today with a brand new and special product review. Today we're going to talk about this, which is Gears of War 2 on the Xbox 360 as well as the Xbox Series S and X through backwards compatibility. Now, I'm a massive fan of the Gears of War franchise. I've been playing ever since the 2000s with the first Gears of War, and now we're here in the 2008 with Gears of War 2, which is when this game originally released. Now, this game you can play, like I said before, through backwards compatibility. It's featured, you can play through either solo campaign or two-player co-op, and as a child I actually played through the second game with my brother on the single-player campaign. It was a pretty awesome experience, even back then, playing through the single-player campaign with my brother in two-player co-op. Now, I really do like the fact this game does have split screen, because in the newer games that we get to this day, we actually don't get split screen co-op campaigns anymore. We actually get just the solo campaign. And then if you actually want to play two-player co-op, you have to play with your buddy online. Back in the day, if you had an Xbox, you could actually play two-player co-op with split screen. That basically just split your screen in half, and so that way the first player can see his campaign screen on the top, and then the second player see his campaign screen at the bottom of the screen, and that allowed you to play co-op. And co-op is a really awesome feature that brought a lot of gamers together. It's what really brought me and my brother together, especially playing the very first game of the franchise all the way through, and then playing the second game of the franchise. And where does Gears of War 2 basically pick off? It's 4 years after the events that took place in the first game of the franchise, where you have the Locust Horde that's taken over Sarah. Planet Sarah is being invaded by the Locust Horde, and now the game shows you guys what the Locusts are doing in the Hollow. And the Hollow is the underground city or cavern cavern system that the Locusts are really designing with the help of these massive worms that are going through Jacinto and the other places in Sera. And along the way you get Delta Squad, who's hunting down these massive worms that actually go through one of these worms at one point in time in the single player campaign and actually destroy it with Marcus and Dom. Marcus and Dom are back in this game, and Dominic Santiago is on a mission to see what happened to Maria, which is his love interest in the game. Maria is wife, and he also has a family with her, and he is trying to figure out what happened after E-Day and Emergence Day. And you eventually get to see what happens to her in the Hollow, where they are just making these mutant creatures that are like the Locust and turning humans into these creatures that are terrifying to kind of look at. And it's a really heartfelt moment in the game where Marcus and Dom are seeing what happens to humanity as a whole when the Locusts get their hands on humanity, and Dominic has to sacrifice his love for, Maria and his humanity a little bit at the same time, while also at the same time realizing that there's nothing left for him in terms of his family, because he has to make the sacrifice and make the cult killer in the game. This game is a little bit more serious and darker of a tone than even the first game. If you thought the first game of the franchise was pretty dark in terms of the context of the story, this one takes darkness to a whole new level. The Locusts are invading, taking control over human cities, or even sinking human cities with the help of these rift worms, and you get the feeling that humanity is at its last step. Humanity has its hand to its back and is trying to fight to survive, and without Marcus and Delta Squad, as well as the team which consists of not only Dominic Santiago but also Cole Train is back. Augustus Cole is pretty much the third wheel in terms of the franchise, and you also have other characters that show up, such as Anthony Carmine, who plays a significant role in this game as well. A lot of these characters, while they are side characters in the game, you actually grow to love these characters over time. They each have their own part to play, which is pretty reminiscent of the first game of the franchise, where it has really great one-liners and dialogue. This game, while it is dark, also does have humor within it as well, which is something that I really do like. These dark, grim stories, such as Gears of War 2. I think while Gears of War 2 is a darker tone in terms of the context of the story and the subject matter of the game, it does have a lot of heart and human story to it, where Dom is searching for Maria, similar to that of what Marcus was doing with his father. And even Dom himself kind of mentions that in the game, where he's like, considering what happened with your father, I think you would understand, especially with the fact that Dominic goes AWOL himself trying to find Maria, which leads Marcus to kind of go along down the Hollow with him, search for her and figure out what happened as well. And then once they get up, you realize that Hoffman realizes that the Locusts are winning this war. They're trying to stop them at their tracks. They have to go to Nexus Point, which is their capital, stop the spread of the emulsion from spreading, even though the emulsion happened after the events of the first game of the franchise. When they destroyed the Light Mass bomb, everything vaporized, it went into the air, and it caused more issues with Sera than they originally thought and were planning on in terms of the second game of the franchise. And this game also has a very third-person action-adventure heavy perspective to it. It's the very first game that kind of revolutionized taking cover and using the environment to your advantage with these gruesome and violent and grim weapons. The weapons in this game are brutal. You get the Lancer back, which is an assault rifle with a chainsaw bayonet attached to it as well. I do have a replica of the gold custom Lancer from Gears of War 4 sitting in the back of my office right now. I could pull it out, but I don't really want to lug this thing around to show you guys that in this review. But I also do have the COG, or the Coalition of Order Government necklace. The COG actually wearing acts like dog tags that military members wear when they're serving the military. And this game is really action-adventure heavy, whereas the first game was dealing with a lot of warfare, futuristic military aspects to that. This game deals a lot with the psychological drama of what happens to people in war. There's even a scene where they find one of their COG members that ends up killing themselves in the game, goes on a suicide rampage, and there's a lot of really cool and interesting topics to be discussed within the context of this game and the story elements of this game. And this game does have a really good hero's journey, not only for Marcus, who realizes what happened to Dom is basically happened to him as well in terms of him and his father. The relationship that he has with his dad is a similar relationship to what Dom has between his own family. And I think that the whole idea of brotherhood is really exemplified in this game compared to even the last game of the franchise, where you're realizing what these human characters are fighting for in the context of Sera, and the whole planet that's being invaded by the Locust Horde. And the Locust Horde feel like they're actually winning when they're actually losing at the same time, and you actually have to put everything at your disposal to stop them. I really do like the added features in this game, like the fact that you can take the Locust Horde and use them as meat shields, which you could also do in the first game of the franchise. You can vault over different objects similar to that of parkour in the Assassin's Creed franchise as well. There's even aspects of Gears of War 2 where you can take a machine gun and kind of rip it off a machine gun turret and then walk around carrying it and shooting enemies with it, like that of Halo 3. And it's a little bit of elements like that add to the overall arcing narrative of Gears of War as a franchise. They're always adding new and cool, unique things to the franchise as well. There's even a riot shield that pretty much is acting like something that you can hide behind and cover, and you can even mount it to the ground, I do think, at certain times of the game, and use it as cover as well, which adds a little bit of a more tactical advantage to the game itself. Everything that you loved about Gears of War 1 is improved upon in Gears of War 2, and even added to the element of Brothers in Arms thing is even improved upon as well. Every single one of your squad members actually matters, including Carmine, who's a little bit more of a comic relief character to this, is even taken a little bit more seriously than he did in the first game of the franchise. You get Cole, who's back, and you get a little bit more of a backstory between what happened to him in the last game, and the elements of what happened to him in this game as well. And I just like the fact that they just give you tons more to delve into in terms of the lore of the franchise. While this universe is a little bit different because it takes place on an alien world, an alien planet that's not necessarily Earth, you get the feeling this is a more human story compared to that of even the first one. So I really do like Gears of War as a franchise, everything down from the third-person action narrative of the gameplay to the single-player narrative, which I think is a really great story in of itself that anybody enjoy who has played the first game of the franchise is looking for a little bit more, dialed up to the 11th degree in terms of the second game of the franchise as well. Everything about this game is brutal, bloody, and violent compared to the first game of the franchise, so this is not a game of even kids under the age of like 13 or 14. I don't think that they would be able to handle some of the subject matter in this video game. You can like take a chainsaw and rip people in half with it, and actually there's blood that kind of comes on screen, which is a little bit more gory and violent compared to that even earlier game in the franchise. And there's newer, different enemy combatants that you fight in this game. The boss fights in this game are awesome in terms of some of the newer enemies that assault you along the way. There's different enemy types and different enemy variants, like these little guys that kind of come at you and they're bombers, and they kind of just explode once you kind of shoot at, similar to that of the glowies in the first game of the franchise. And I think that this game, along with the first game of the franchise, is done well because it's written by a comic book artist. Joshua Ortega is the one that actually created the story for this game, and he was actually a comic book writer for the comic book industry before working on Gears of War 2. Cliffy B is back, and he's making the game development cycle for this game as well, and he does a really good job of the game development of this game compared to that of the first game of the franchise. I think that just everything in this game is far more improved than even the first game, and I really did love the storytelling in that game as well. Some of the bigger monsters in this that you do fight are these giant worms. There's even a giant boss fight towards the end when you actually go back to the surface. Then you fight against a creature that's going Lambent, which is where all these human characters are being turned into these giant horrific creatures, and once this thing goes Lambent, it becomes a gigantic kaiju monster, similar to that of like Godzilla or even King Kong, and just assault out the squad. And they eventually go to the surface, go back to some more action-adventure narrative that you love about the first game of the franchise. Like I said before, this game is perfection. I think that this is a game that's really hard to actually talk about in terms of reviewing because I love everything about this. There's not a single thing about Gears of War 2 that I don't love compared to that of even the first game of the franchise. And while this game did come out in 2008, I think that this game looks even better on the Xbox Series S and X through backwards compatibility. I wish that they would upgrade the graphics, because the graphics, while they are perfect in terms of the time that they were created, I think look a little bit more outdated and ancient compared to that of even games coming out nowadays. And I really wish that the Coalition would actually upgrade graphics a little bit similar to what they did with the Gears of War Ultimate Edition. Maybe I'll talk about that on my channel in the future, but I like the third-person action-adventure narrative. It's reminiscent of something like Assassin's Creed with some of the parkour and the ability to kind of vault over objects. This game really did revolutionize that technology, and it's one of those game franchises that a lot of video game franchises after copied the movement mechanics. There's even sliding abilities in this game, similar to that of Bulletstorm and some of the other games that come after. Like, really did carry a lot of their gameplay mechanics over to this game franchise, to other game franchises after that. So the fact that this game came out and was as great as it was nothing short of extraordinary. I think that team that designed Gears of War 2, even the writers for the story, did a really bang-up job. I really do like some of the one-liners in this game, some of the humor that's in this game. While this game is a darker story in its narrative, it does have a lot of awesome dialogue options in this game. There's also choices that you make in this game, whether you go left or right in terms of the context of where you're going to go in the map in the single-player campaign, and that adds a little bit more of a replayability factor, because while you can't go through the single-player narrative in just one straight line, I think the added nature of being able to choose left or right in terms of the map design allows for you to explore new territory, new terrain of the map that you otherwise wouldn't be able to explore before. The music in this game is fantastic. It's on par with something like Halo or even the older Call of Duty franchise, where they actually took the single-player narrative storytelling actually seriously and gave us really great musical scores and dialogue. I think that everything in this game is damn near perfection, like I said before, and not a single thing about Gears of War 2 is actually terrible in terms of the design factor to it. So like I said before, I think that Gears of War is awesome. I think this is one of those games that you have to experience for yourself if you have an Xbox, or even an Xbox Series S and X for that matter. Even the Xbox 360 version of Gears of War 2 is fantastic in terms of the story and development, how it actually came to be. So I think that if you're a massive fan of the Xbox platform and you like really great story-driven narratives and you want to experience these games again, the nostalgic factor to them, I would definitely recommend that you actually get the Gears of War Ultimate Edition and Gears of War 4. I'm playing on all these games of the franchise leading up to Gears of War 4 because these games are fantastic, and I think that if you're playing these games now compared to back then when they first came out, you're going to have a little bit more of an appreciation for the storytelling, the drama that centers around Marcus Phoenix as well as Dom Santiago and the team of Delta Squad. You're going to have a more of an appreciation of the lore and the nature that comes with some of the backstory between the Locust and the human characters of Sarah. I think that this game is on par with anything that pretty much is coming out today in terms of storytelling in gaming. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of the Gears of War franchise. Did you like Gears of War 1 more? Do you like Gears of War 2 a little bit more than the other games in the franchise? What is your favorite Gears of War game in the franchise as a whole? Let me know in the comment section down below, and as always guys, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Evac's definitely underway!
Yeah, but the grub's already tearing up the place. We gotta get down there. Control, this is Delta. We're on the Reavers approaching Jacinto Command. Don't shoot. I repeat, do not shoot. This is Delta Squad coming in. Anya, we just been hit. Call off the gun.
Sorry, Delta. Guns called off. Prepare for landing.
Watch out! That was too close.
Marcus, the chairman and Colonel Hoffman are here with me at control. Get here as soon as you can.
You heard her. Let's move.
Nice work, Phoenix. Your squad did good.
What's the status?
In progress. We've evacuated most of Jacinto, but we still need more time to evac Gears from the Hollow.
Do we have a plan to sink Jacinto?
Almost. We're finalizing the logistics now.
When you first sent this information, Sergeant Phoenix, I thought you were insane.
I seem to have that effect on people.
But it looks like your father was right all this time.
Imagine that.
Locust troops have breached the courtyard.
We're on it.
Not without me, you aren't. If this is Jacinto's last stand, I'm not sitting it out.
Fair enough.